the stage in Austin, Texas for the South by Southwest Conference in 2017. My hands were shaking. My stomach was a ball of nerves. You see, I had been invited to come and talk to the audience about what I had seen and witnessed in my hometown of Flint, Michigan. And I did a pretty good job of sharing with them all the facts and the statistics. But when I opened my mouth to try to tell them about my personal experiences, those words seemed to be trapped in the pit of my stomach. And I couldn't encourage them to move up to my throat or to come across my lips. So I left there that day feeling a little discouraged and realizing how deeply I had been affected, traumatized even, by the events that had transpired in 2014. You see, I was living in my hometown in 2014, and that's about the time when the city of Flint was in trouble. We were bankrupt, in the red. We couldn't pay our bills, and we owed money even to the state. And so our governor at that time, in his infinite wisdom, decided that it was a good idea to appoint an emergency manager to help us bring things back into order. And I don't know if you know anything about an emergency manager, but when an emergency manager comes to your town, well, they only come to towns and cities where it's predominantly black people, unfortunately. But if they were to come to your town, and when they come in, your elected officials have no more rights, right? The people who you've elected to represent you, it doesn't matter how your city council votes, it doesn't matter what your mayor wants, the emergency manager has the final say. And so he decided it was a good idea if we stop paying Detroit for water, but we use the Flint River as a water source. That would save a whole lot of money, even though we knew that the Flint River was contaminated. It had been contaminated a long time ago, before there were EPA standards to try to protect people. And he also thought it was a great idea to save an extra $200 every day by not properly treating the water with corrosion control. And so that untreated water began to make its way through the pipes and all around town. It went up through people's taps, into their glasses, into their cooking pots. And almost right away, people began to notice something was not right. When you would turn on your tap, sometimes the water would have a foul odor, almost like sulfur. Other times, it would smell like a swimming pool. And when you went to drink it, you could taste the chlorine. Other people had it even worse. Their taps produced brown water. And some people began to capture samples of this brown water and water with sediment, things floating around in it. They would capture it in bottles and jugs as evidence that there was something wrong. And when they took that evidence to City Hall or to the water department, even on to Lansing, everyone said, oh, there's nothing wrong with the water. Everything is fine. Just go on home. Everything is fine. Go ahead and drink the water. And then, in just a matter of months, people started to develop symptoms. Babies began to develop unexplained rashes and discoloration on their skin. Children began to develop severe cases of eczema. Women began to lose their hair and their babies. I had a friend who lost a set of twins. Some people developed Legionnaire's disease and died. Others developed stomach ailments, like my own dear husband. He developed a stomach issue that no one could explain. And he went to doctors month after month and year after year for several years before it was finally concluded that he had been exposed to a bacteria in the water. that caused his stomach issues. And so, as I learned more and more about what was going on, I found out that there was a word for this. That this was no accident, this was no mistake, this was no happenstance, because this sort of thing had happened before in cities from New York all the way to California. There's a word for this, and it's called environmental racism. And that is just a way to explain the intentional neglect of a people, the intentional devaluation of a people whose skin looks like mine, or people who are poor and don't have a lot of money. That's what I wanted to tell them on that day, but I didn't seem to have the courage. But this morning, I woke up feeling fearless.
All right.
And I woke up singing.
All right.
In the morning,